Shopping for an email list host can be a little bit confusing because there's a lot of options out there and they seem like they sort of do the same thing. So what I want to do here is start to look at some of these options and help you make a selection. Now, the three that I'm going to look at today are three of the most popular ones for bloggers, and those are MailChimp, Aweber, and ConvertKit. Hey there, David Risley here with blogmarketingacademy.com. So first off, we're going to start talking about MailChimp. Now, I'll be honest, I'm not really a big fan of MailChimp. The main reason that I'm talking about MailChimp is because I know that a lot of blog owners and people who are just starting out tend to look at MailChimp, and there's one reason for that, and that is that they've got a free account level, free up to 2,000 subscribers. Now, keep in mind, you get what you pay for. So let's head on into MailChimp and let me show you around here. All right, so let's take a quick look around here inside of MailChimp. Now, I have the free level of account. I really don't want to pay for it, so I'm not even going to upgrade this thing to show you around. But this is the basic dashboard. They made it really fairly user-friendly here, but having used other platforms, when I start to click around, I notice that there's noise in here. For example, when I go to create something, there's all kinds of stuff in here that has really nothing to do with email. Here's the email, but apparently they're now up to doing ads, websites, landing pages sort of makes sense, surveys, social media posts, postcards. So basically what's going on here is that they're trying to make MailChimp into like a one-stop shop for all kinds of things. Now, typically my experience has been when a company tries to be all things to all people, they tend not to be very good at any of them, okay? And so that's just my thing here. Now, if we go to look at an email here, let's say we're gonna just create a test email campaign. Let's look around here and how this thing works. Their interface is odd. Like most systems, when I go to write an email on my list, it's all done in one screen, but in here it takes more clicks. Like I have to choose my segment that I want to send it to, then move down to the next thing and verify an address and save that, and then go down to the subject, hit the button again, enter a test subject line and preview text, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes down to here, and then I got to hit another button. There's just a lot of clicks involved here. Then I got to choose this layout thing, which usually I just like to do plain text emails or something uber simple. It does look like they have code your own capability, which is interesting, and save templates, which I don't have any. If we were to just do a simple text, let's see what this thing looks like. Okay, so pretty A to B. This is weird. I would expect this to be a what you see, what you get type of editor, but it's not. It's more like these blocks. And then I have to come over to this side and write the email. But at least you do get a preview of it here on what you're doing. How do I get out of that? Okay, and then we have some things that we could drag into this if we felt like it. But I'm not a massive fan of this editor, and it's basically because the theme tends to be that there's just a lot of clicks necessary. Now, I could get used to it, but having come from other editors, I just find that this seems like a lot of noise for no reason, and therefore I'm not a massive fan of it, but it will get the job done. Let's exit that. Head on back to the main interface here. So I'm going to abandon that email. Let's head on over to automate and see what we got in here. Create an automation email. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but so we have a few templates that they've got built in. Like I can email subscribers whenever a tag is added to their profile. We can set up a welcome sequence, wish them a happy birthday, stuff like that. We've already covered that one. We could do, so there's some interesting things. Now, this is a pretty common one to send emails when they're tagged a certain way, especially when you're setting up sales funnels. So we'll see what it looks like. Email subscribers when they're tagged with this BMA tag. Okay. Well, of course, I don't have the paid level of account, so I actually don't have any ability to do this, but that's essentially how this is going to work. When it's tagged, you add some emails to it. But I just basically refuse to pay for it because I'm just not a big fan of MailChimp. Get out of here without saving. I don't want to do ads. I don't want to do postcards. Let's look at the audience. Okay, should just be showing me a list here, but I gotta hit yet another button to get to the contact list. Now it's just some of my own crap email addresses that I put in here, but if we click on one of these, we can look at a basic profile. We can add notes to people's profile, which is a handy. It's really easy to add tags to your profile, which is very, very nice. We could see a basic simple things of measurement on opens and click rates per subscriber, which is an interesting touch, profile information, and some other stuff. Now, one interesting thing I'm noticing in here is that there's no ability to do custom fields. And that's one thing with MailChimp, is that it does not look like you have any ability to do custom fields unless you add them to a sign-up form, which means they need to be set at the time the person is entering your list. But what if you just want to use it for internal tracking purposes? I guess you'd have to add it to a sign-up form and then turn it into a hidden field. It just seems sort of roundabout to do it that way. Brand, I don't really care about any of this crap because I don't know why anybody would want to try to build a website with this. So basically, I just don't like it all that much. So basically, my verdict with MailChimp is simple. I don't like it very much. Now, the only way that I could ever recommend MailChimp to somebody is if you're at the very beginning phases of your business and it's really, really important to you not to spend any money on your email. If that's the case, then yes, MailChimp is definitely going to be better than trying to self-host your list or something like that. MailChimp is a legit company. You can send mass email through them and it will do the job, okay? MailChimp is fine in that regard. But as a platform, I see that they're trying to do too many things. They're trying to like dumb it down, I think, in my opinion. And the other thing is that, in order to get some of the cooler capabilities, which are lacking in it anyway, you've got to pay for it. And at that point, you might as well go with a better solution. And so I'm just not a big fan of MailChimp. I think MailChimp is primarily designed for standard email newsletter broadcast. But if you want to really set up an automated sales funnel, it's best to look elsewhere. Okay, so next up, let's look at Aweber. Now, Aweber is a company that I've been a fan of for a long time. In fact, when I first got into building a list, and we're talking about well over 10 years ago, probably when I first got started with this whole business, I was running a technology blog, and I went for the first couple of years, year to 2 years, not really knowing how important email marketing was and why it's so important to build an email list. When I finally grew a brain, is like, dude, I really need to start building up an email list. The company that I went to was Aweber, and we're talking about back in like 2000, 2001 range. So that gives you an idea of how long Aweber's been around. I used Aweber for a very long time in my own business. I no longer use it, but it's a really nice company. I've hung out with the CEO and some of the members of their team. They're a company that I respect. The question that I had when I wanted to look at this is, have they grown with the times? Because one of my biggest concerns with Aweber is that they used to be stuck in this multiple list setup where you needed to set up multiple lists on your account, even sometimes setting up a unique email list for each lead magnet that you wanted to give away, write autoresponders on there and move people in and out of different lists. And it got to be really messy because you could have subscribers spread out among different lists. And so have they added tagging to it? Do they have automation capabilities now? I went into Aweber and I was pleasantly surprised with what I found. Okay, so I signed up for a trial account with Aweber because my old account is long since gone. Right off the bat, it actually has a lot of similarities to what I remember. And in fact, they still have the multiple lists set up. And so when I first got in here, I was like, oh crap. However, it did get better from there, because the one thing that's definitely, they have the old automation rules set up right here where you can move people in and out of different lists depending on rules. But this is really missing the point. I mean, it's interesting that they still have it there, but what is really, really interesting about Aweber is how they have set up campaigns now. Campaigns are where the power is at. I've got one little test campaign here, but when we come into here, we see that we can add messages, which we have. We can add delays, just add a delay anywhere you want and say, I want to wait a day or two. But we can also apply tags to people's profile. We can add tags. We can also remove tags from people's profile as part of this automation. When we send a message to anybody, we can also get over here and say when they open it, we can tag them in certain ways, okay? We can, when they open the message, we can add or remove a tag, or we can move people over to another campaign. This is really, really cool. So basically what's happened is that they still have the multiple lists set up like they used to. However, their campaigns have evolved way past traditional autoresponders to now we have nitty-gritty rules in there where we can move people into campaigns based on certain things. And this is what we need when we do marketing automation. So it's really nice to see that they've got that. You know, if they open a message and we add them to another campaign, this could be something to where if you send them some general interest type of email, but then they click and you're like, oh, they might be interested in that topic, you can maybe add them to a much more topic related campaign that maybe will result in a sale at some point. So it's pretty cool what they've gotten here. Let's cancel that. And obviously when you get down to the end of the campaign, you can tag them something else and use those rules in order to move people in and out of different campaigns. And so you've got a lot more flexibility with this than you used to with the old Aweber, which is really, really nice to see. So that was what was most impressive to me about this. A lot of this other stuff I have seen before since I've been into Aweber. Their subscriber profiles are pretty basic. There's not a lot to it. You basically expand down a subscriber profile. You can see here that we do have the tag capability now. They have a notes field, but it's pretty tiny. It's really, you know, so their subscriber profile interface really isn't all that good. I'm not a massive fan of that part of it at all, but you know, it does work, and at least they've got the tagging capability in there. You can use these drop downs to do all kinds of different segmentation and stuff like that. So that's really, really handy. You can manage your sign-up forms. That's pretty self-explanatory. Aweber does have landing pages built in now, although I quite frankly would not use them. I think that using some, you know, a dedicated page builder like Thrive Architect would be much more preferable to that. As we go under list options, you can control your confirmation settings. Like under confirmation, do you want to have confirmation turned on? You can manage, you can manage your tags, which I don't think I've got any on this account right now, so there's not much to show there, but you'll be able to manage tags. So it's really, really nice that they've got tagging capability in here. And so basically, Aweber is still working strong. It's still got a pretty nice interface to it. I'm not a massive fan of how they manage subscribers, but I'm really, really happy to see how they've handled campaigns here. So can Aweber get the job done? Absolutely. In fact, I was really happy to see that they've definitely modernized with regard to the way they handle campaigns now. And so the big question now is, can we use Aweber to power a real sales funnel with different automations? And the answer is definitely yes. The way that they manage subscribers is not the best in my opinion, because that little collapsible thing just doesn't provide a lot of interface capability when it comes to managing your subscribers. But it still works. In the end, a lot of it still looks like the way that I remember, but it was cool to see that they've improved on the automation capability. Now, I really want to look at ConvertKit, because ConvertKit is something that is a newer company and much more recent company. I've been hearing really good things about. I have played around with it in the past, but I didn't really dive in all that heavily. It was a company that was built specifically for bloggers and content creators. And so the features were very friendly to that type of audience, which happens to be the type of audience that I serve as well. And so the question is, does ConvertKit stack up? And in fact, maybe is it the best one? So I wanted to head on in there and check it out for myself. Okay, so this is what happens when you log right into ConvertKit. Again, I don't have any subscribers in here because this is just a profile that I signed up with in order to check it out for myself. Now, right off the bat, I like this much, much better because this is actually something that's useful. We've got some metrics on the dashboard. We can actually see subscribers on the dashboard. I have quick access to my segments, my tags. Let's compare this to Aweber, which is kind of like what? It's almost like they're just shortcuts to inside of the the interface. And personally, this whole landing page thing is something I would never ever use because I would never use their landing pages. And so it's not that useful. This is useful. Now, what I did when I was looking around in here, first of all, let's look at a profile. Of course, this is my profile. And there's not much in here because it's just me, but I like it. Okay, I see a photo. That's pretty. I got that. We can add fields in here, anything that I want. So that's nice that I don't have to, it's unlike MailChimp where I would need to create custom fields just by adding it to a sign-up form, which is annoying. I can actually just add custom fields to my anything I want in here. So this is much, much better. Tagging seems really, really simple. I don't have very many tags in here. So there's not a lot to show here. I can see any emails that I've sent this person. I can see whatever automations they're on, any sequences, forms, and anything that they purchased. Personally, I think this is a much slicker, easier interface than even Aweber has. Aweber tries to do everything inside of that little collapsible thing on the subscriber list. This is much better. It's on a dedicated screen. Now, what I really, really liked about ConvertKit are the automations. In fact, I was really impressed by this. Now, I only played around a little bit. This one, I haven't built anything. This one, I was just messing around with, but it's visual. In fact, let's head on in there. And this is something that I'm used to seeing in a platform like Drip or ActiveCampaign. This is a visual designer for email automations. Up here are triggers. So whenever these triggers take place, it would trigger this particular automation. And you can see that we can trigger things based on them filling out a particular form, having a tag added to their profile, having a custom field either changed or changed to a particular thing, or if they purchased a particular thing, and we can integrate our account with various automations or various integrations, and then choose a product. So once this was integrated with something like, I don't know, some kind of a shopping cart system, you could actually choose a particular product that they purchased, and you could trigger an automation on that. Real handy and real easy to use. Now, as we come down here, we can add things like events. This is where people would jump down to a certain point in the automation based on certain criteria, like adding a tag to their profile, removing a tag, dates, what have you. We can add actions to it, like sending them an email sequence, adding or removing a tag, delaying, moving a subscriber to someplace else, like another automation, setting a custom field. And then we have conditions where if they have a tag or not, or if they have a custom field set or not, we can move them around. So here is a quick example here where I have got a condition. If the subscriber has a tag called test, then under yes, we would do certain things if they have that tag. And then over here, we would do certain things if they don't have that tag. So it's really, really handy and allows a lot of nitty-gritty control. Now, as somebody who uses Drip as my, my email platform, this is all stuff that I'm used to. But seeing this in a platform that's designed primarily for bloggers and content creators, this is cool. There's no way around it. This is real marketing automation around here, right here, and would allow you all kinds of flexibility in terms of being able to send personalized emails to people that react in near real time based on the things that you know about them, based on segmentation information, based on things that they do on your website. This is really, really powerful, and really what you could do with it is only limited by your imagination in a lot of ways. I was really, really impressed with what they've built here. Now, if we go back to automations, we've also got the ability to add rules, which are similar to the visual ones, except that this is more like, hey, you pick one trigger and certain actions happen. It's not as graphical as the regular automations, but you could do things like if they subscribe to one sequence and you would choose it, then we could say add a tag and choose a tag. And it's just an if and then. It's really, really simple the way rules work, and you can add as many as you want. and provides a lot of capability there. We also have the ability to trigger things based on RSS feeds. And so if you want to send out automatic emails to your list or a segment of your list, whenever you publish a new blog post or something like that, you could totally make that happen. And then under integrations, we have all kinds of things that this thing will integrate with right off the bat. And of course, Zapier is one of them. So that means that you could really integrate this thing with pretty much anything you want. But if you were using any of these, like obviously most of us are using WordPress, Wishlist Member, Opt-in Monster, Gravity Forms, there's a lot of things here. But even if something that you use is not on this list, chances are you could make it work, okay? Under sequences, this is where you can set up traditional autoresponders, and it's a really nice simple interface here because you can just add these things and you see all of your emails on one side, and then over here you just write the email. And so it's a really easy to use interface here. This is more your traditional thing. If you wanted to deliver an email series that goes on a particular schedule, just like a typical autoresponder, you can easily build that in here. Now, one thing is that their editor is pretty stripped down compared to a lot of the systems that you see out there. They do have some new editor that they're working on, but personally, I think this is way better because these types of emails are the ones that usually convert better because they're much more personal looking and they're also easiest to make. And so I actually appreciate the fact that this editor is really, really simple. And then of course you got broadcast where you can just send off standard newsletters like everybody is used to. Now, as a WordPress user, you definitely need to be using the ConvertKit plugin. Well, I won't say definitely. If you're using something like Thrive Leads or something like that, you probably don't need to use this. But this plugin is actually pretty cool. It integrates your site pretty tightly with ConvertKit. So you can do things like trigger an automation merely by one of your subscribers visiting particular pages of your site. The other thing that this plugin does is makes it really easy to map your ConvertKit opt-in forms to particular blog posts, categories, things like that. So it does a really, really effective job of managing your opt-in forms across your site in a really cool way. In a lot of ways, it's actually easier than what Thrive Leads does. But Thrive Leads, of course, gives you a lot more visual and otherwise capability than the ConvertKit plugin. So if you're a ConvertKit user, you might want to just check out this plugin and see which one works better for you. Okay, so here we are. Of the three that we've looked at, MailChimp, Aweber, and ConvertKit, I'm going to rank them pretty much in reverse order of what we just did. I personally think that the best option is ConvertKit. And in fact, I am going to be using this review as a change of my policy, so to speak, because up until now, my official recommendation for Blog Marketing Academy was Aweber. And it's because they've got such a long track record and they're a very trustworthy company. However, now that I've really done a more in-depth comparison with ConvertKit, I think ConvertKit is the better platform. It's much more capable, you get more for your money, and their marketing automation capabilities will give you a lot of room for growth, and it's way more capable than what Aweber does. I think their interface is better. I think it's just easier to get around in there, and I'm really, really I'm not going to say I'm surprised, but I actually, a little bit I am actually, because this is a tool that was built for bloggers and content creators. And typically that tends to be a different class of tool than a real marketing automation platform, whereas you might be looking at something like Drip or Active Campaign or, maybe something like Infusionsoft or Entreport even. Those are much more higher end tools in a lot of ways. And to see ConvertKit really hold its own in that regard is really, really impressive. And so I think that if you are starting out and if you are looking for the right place to put your list where you can grow and you're not going to have to move it around, I think ConvertKit is where you need to go. Aweber, solid option. If you're already with Aweber, there's not really a need to move. They're a very trustworthy company. Nothing has changed. You can totally power an automated email funnel with Aweber. Back to MailChimp, not so much. I really don't recommend that you go with MailChimp unless you really, really need that free option, which, by the way, ConvertKit has a free option too. Okay, so you can start up your account for free with ConvertKit and get started and start building your list. Now, you're not going to have all the cool little automation capabilities of ConvertKit until you pay for it. However, you can get started with ConvertKit, and at least when you're ready for those automations, you don't have to move the list, okay? Can definitely be a time saver. So for those reasons, I'm definitely a massive fan of ConvertKit now. I'm going to be recommending that to my readers and students who ask me for my official recommendation, because I think it is the best fit in this class of email tool, without a doubt. In the end, we all know that we need to build a list here. However, the important thing, and it's really easy to lose sight of this when you're at the very beginning phases of your business, but it's not just about being able to put people on a list and send them random emails. That's kind of the old school of email marketing, and it's still in play. We still need to be able to just send email broadcasts to a list and send everybody the same thing. Each of these three providers can very easily do that for you. But what is easy to lose sight of at the beginning is that email marketing automation capability. Because when you're building up an online business, the segment of your business that's usually going to be generating the revenue for you is typically automated. You can't really build a leveraged online business that's making decent money if you're sending all of your emails manually. It's really hard to do that. And so you need a certain level of marketing automation in there to power the different funnels and different things that you're going to be doing. And that is the only way that you're really ever going to design an online business that can operate and make money for you while you're off doing something else and living the life that you want to live, okay? And when it comes to the marketing automation, you need much more than just old school autoresponders, okay? You need to be able to have a system that reacts to what a person is interested in and what they're doing on your website, okay? It's really important to be able to do that, because the sending the same thing to everybody is just not as effective as it used to be. ConvertKit, of the three that we just looked at, ConvertKit is the tool that will just do the best job for you. There's no doubt about it. And then Aweber is a pretty good runner-up, but ConvertKit definitely has it beat and is where I recommend that you go. So if you can, if you're starting out, sign up with the free level of account with ConvertKit. You can maybe earn some additional capabilities by referring more people to ConvertKit if you want. It's kind of a new growth model they've got now, but once you pay up and you get an upgraded account, which I think starts at $29 a month, and I think you can save some money if you go with an annual plan, but you're getting some real automation capabilities in there, and it's at a much better price point than some of the big automation companies that you probably don't need right now, and you may not ever need. I actually could run my business on ConvertKit. I'm not going to switch. I'm perfectly happy where I'm at with Trip, but that's saying something. ConvertKit is really, really cool, and I think I would be pretty happy with it in a lot of ways, which is really, really interesting. So anyway, that is my little review here of MailChimp, Aweber, and ConvertKit, and the winner is ConvertKit.